From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
We go on another big day here, the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. We try to find the truth so you can decide for yourself, all right? Give you all the facts and have the right people shoulder to shoulder with as we go into this unpredictable future. Let's get it rolling. A lot of big things to cover. Three big things. Number one, in Canada, just as I told you would happen, young people are being put to death because they're not perfect. The maid laws, suicide laws. We'll talk about that. Number two, the average tax refund checks booming, up more than 11% over last year. That's all because of the big, beautiful bill. And number three, very serious topic. At least 2 people were killed, 3 more injured in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, after a gunman opened fire on his own family members at a youth hockey game earlier this week. You heard the story. The incident took place just miles away from Brown University, where 2 students died at the hands of a Portuguese gunman 2 months ago. And the state's governor has issued a statement on the tragedy. Here's something. Listen.
Our state is grieving again. As governor, a parent, and a former coach, my heart breaks for the victims, families, and everyone impacted by the devastating shooting at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. I am deeply grateful for the first responders, hospital staff, mental health workers, RIPTA drivers, and everyone who responded quickly and bravely. I want to talk to the families out there right now. Too many Rhode Islanders know what it feels like to lose a loved one, a neighbor, or a friend to gun violence.
There it is.
And a tragedy like this is incredibly difficult for people of any age to process.
It is. Gun violence, predictably, the phrase they use whenever they talk about such a thing. But I'm going to argue that there's something very different at play here that he, of course, wouldn't mention because he's a Democrat. Trans violence, transgender violence, transgender murder. The mainstream outlets aren't using the term transgender to describe the shooter, but this is what they are saying. Listen to this.
Remember whether the subject is male, female, referred to as a transgender person. Is that something that you have to this information?
So what I can say right now that we have identified the person, the suspect, by a birth name. The birth name was Robert Dorgan. We have also learned that the person does go by the name of Roberta, also uses a last name of Esposito. But again, that will be all confirmed throughout the course of the investigation as to their status. That really doesn't have anything to do with the investigation.
Robert, who became Roberta, went through a sex change operation in 2020. And CBS says that it has court records that show gender identity was the very center of this tragedy. Here it is.
New details about a deadly mass shooting during a high school hockey game in Rhode Island. Officials say 2 adults were killed and 3 others were critically hurt. And what police are calling a targeted attack Monday after a family dispute. Our Rhode Island affiliate, WPRI, obtained court records showing that the shooter had a history of conflicts with family, some involving the shooter's gender identity. Police say the shooter died at the scene of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The investigation is ongoing.
Yeah, Robert Dorgan, or as he called himself, Roberta Esposito, was a man with mental health problems, clearly. He should never have had access to a firearm. Rhode Island has strict red flag laws in place for firearm ownership, but they didn't work. They failed. And now you already know that the discussion is going to slide. It's going to slide right toward how can we take more guns away. We need stronger red flag laws. We need stronger laws. How about you look at the transgender issue? Half the country refuses to acknowledge the truth about the epidemic of transgender violence. If you search transgender violence on your computer, like the one here, your search engine of choice, you'll be flooded with responses on violence against transgenders. They'll classify using the wrong pronouns as violence. Words are violence. No, they're not. Getting punched in the mouth is violence. Keep that clear. But you won't find much about the violence actually being committed by transgenders. The actual murders of real people, innocent people. This is the graph that they want you to see, with only one transgender man labeled a mass shooter between the years of 1996 and 2024. It's a lie. That's not only not a misrepresentation of the data, it's a lie, a blatant lie. Let's take a look at just the last few years. Here are just a few examples I was able to find. 2018, Snowchia Mosley was a 26-year-old woman pretending to be a man. She killed 4 people at a Rite Aid distribution center, Aberdeen, Maryland. 2019, Maya McKinney, who identified as Alec, killed 4 of her classmates at a Denver high school because they didn't accept her gender identity. 2022, the shooter who killed 5 people in a gay bar in Colorado Springs identified as non-binary and used they-them pronouns. 2023, 3 precious kids, 3 of their teachers at the Covenant School in Nashville, killed by a woman who identified as a transgender man. Another transgender, Robin Westman, wanted to identify as a woman in 2025, and he killed an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, injuring dozens of others. We could go on. We know that one of Trump's would-be assassins, Thomas Crooks. Thomas Crooks was obsessed with gender ideology. The same goes for Charlie Kirk's assassin, who lived with a transgender partner. And then even just last week, at Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, Canada, an 18-year-old high school dropout, another guy, identifying as a female, committed the second worst mass school shooting in Canada's history. After killing his own mother and a sibling at home first, he killed 9 at the school, last count. 35 people gunned down altogether, but Canadian authorities were focused on not misgendering the killer. That was their priority. Listen.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay. And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship to the
gun person? Gun person. The reality is that there is a terrifying link between violence, actual violence, not words, actual violence, like mass shootings and transgender ideology. According to this graph, a trans person is anywhere from 4 to 10 times more likely to commit a mass attack compared to other demographics. And I think the reason is pretty simple. Up until very recently, transsexualism or gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, whatever you want to call it, were classified in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5, because that's what it is, a mental disorder. Should be treated as such. If you have compassion for someone with gender dysphoria, that's something that should be understood and treated, not accepted as reality and coddled, and then made worse by chopping off various body parts and injecting mentally unstable people with a cocktail of hormones and SSRIs and other powerful drugs. The pattern is clear here, folks. The violence, the death, and the silence from the mainstream media. Not here. We're here to tell you the truth. It's ugly. It's painful. It's unfortunate. Help people. Don't ignore them, but don't embrace the fantasy either. We'll take a break and be right back. And, do you ever sit here and wonder how we ever got to this point? How did we ever get to the point that we sit here and debate how many genders there are, men, women, so on and so forth? There were no transgender people when I grew up because it hadn't been pushed out there by TikTok yet, I guess. It's one of the reasons President Trump won in 2024. He refused to go along with the madness. Listen to this.
No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Trump's words are considered a type of violence by the pro-trans crowd, while they deny that there's a problem with the kinds of people that they encouraged in their insanity to do insane things like shoot up their family members. The guy murdered his ex-wife, murdered one of his own sons there at that hockey game. And then guns get blamed instead of the people who pull the triggers. The Rhode Island shooter's daughter says that her father was a very sick man. Father, man. I guess she wasn't worried about the pronouns, just the carnage. Listen.
John, my family. And he's dead now.
She described that shooting suspect as her father. She came out of the police department behind me here in tears after presumably being interviewed by police.
My father was a shooter.
What happened?
He shot my family. And he's dead now.
What was the reasoning? Was there a family argument?
He has mental health issues.
So yes, she goes on to describe those mental health issues a little bit more. She says that he had been struggling with mental health for quite some time. She said, quote, he was very sick.
He was very sick. The mainstream media will paint over the gender identity issue of her father, of the shooter, because it doesn't fit into the narrative that they want to peddle. And why do they want to peddle that? It's been all so confusing for me. They'll cover it up. Or even worse, like in Canada, they'll run a piece instead on how it's really the trans-identifying individuals who have it so bad in this world. Here's an example.
A lot of talk online tying the shooter's gender identity to the tragedy, all of it playing into a narrative harmful to the transgender community. CTV's Heather Wright explores that side of the story.
As news of Tuesday's school shooting in Tumbler Ridge broke and details began to emerge, Dee McWaters says her heart sank for the victims, for their families, and for the transgender community.
It was like, oh no, you know what? People are going to use this to weaponize hate.
Even before the shooter's identity was confirmed by police, people were taking to the internet with allegations that gender identity was to blame. There is an epidemic of transgender violence spreading across the West, BC MLA Tara Armstrong wrote on X. Elon Musk also shared a number of tweets claiming that trans people are more likely to carry out mass shootings. Armstrong has not responded to our request for comment, but for members of the trans community, there is a worry these statements will lead to further marginalization.
This has nothing to do with ideologies, politics, being transgender. It's a mental health issue.
Oh, it is a mental health issue. At least he got that right. It was a he, right? I'm not sure. Close, but not quite, because being convinced that you were born in the wrong body suggests there's probably something unhealthy in your mental state in the first place. But you keep running stories like these enough and people become convinced that they're the victim, even when there's no evidence to suggest that. Olympic figure skater Amber Glenn is representing the United States in Milan this month. She's made a big to-do about coming out as pansexual. What does that mean? Here she is.
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. And I think that we are able to support each other in a way that we didn't have to before, and because of that, it's made us a lot stronger. I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and...
Well, what is she talking about, hard times? She's competing on the world stage at the Olympics. She hasn't been denied a single opportunity for being queer, as she put it. The Trump administration didn't bar her from representing the United States or take away her freedom of speech so she can sit there and rip on them. But the queer victim mentality and narrative goes on. It will continue to persist. Even there, somebody using those words on the world stage, criticizing Donald Trump. She's not going to be arrested when she gets home. She's not going to be put in jail. You see, affirming the mental illness of gender identity disorders has its consequences. They're costly ones, as we saw in Pawtucket. Meanwhile, those with the disorder, like this transgender activist, think we're the psychotic ones. Real quick, play this.
In case y'all are wondering what psychosis looks like. Ultra mega girl. Yes, queen. I love when I don't have rights. I want to go back into the... Yes, queen. Please. So stupid. You disgust me.
Yep,
Disgusting.
there you go. They hate free speech, but love their own. I already know there's a bunch of wine moms commenting underneath. So true, because they've been brainwashed by a media machine and a society that has completely departed from the truth. We can dig a little deeper into this narrative. It's not just media bias. It's a coordinated effort from big tech, Hollywood, even schools to push gender ideology as normal when the data that we've shared screams otherwise. Think about it. Kids as young as 8 being told they can choose their gender. Pump full of puberty blockers that wreck their bodies for life. Then we're shocked when mental instability boils over into tragedy. In the Pawtucket case, court documents revealed Dorgan's spiral started with online trans forums where he was egged on to transition without real therapy. That's not compassion. That's experimentation on vulnerable people. Anyhow, we'll get back to all of it in a moment. All right, back to it now. I'm going to get this cat out of my throat. You know, too much pet hair, and, it makes your voice go weird. I'm just kidding, of course. It's not pet hair. Here's something odd. Thousands of smoke detectors sold on Amazon recalled due to potential fire hazard. Now, if that's not irony, you're buying the smoke detector to protect yourself against fire, and they caused the fire. The Consumer Product Safety Commission said in a notice that 11,000 Elshome photoelectric 3-pack smoke detector fire alarms. So if you bought anything like that on Amazon, you need to get those checked. They're white circular, just standard old school smoke detectors operated by 9-volt batteries. Sold from February of 2024 through December of 2025. So just recently they stopped selling these. About $30. Discard the smoke alarms in the trash. Or maybe in the dumpster if they cause fires. No injuries or incidents associated with recalled products have been reported so far, but when your smoke detector can burn down the house, well, that's a bit of an irony now, isn't it? This segment proudly sponsored by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative. vet program where veterans find purpose in property restoration and entrepreneurship. We salute those who have served. 855-PUROVET or purovet.com. Remember, the brand new Forgotten America podcast, the new episode went up this week. You can find it on YouTube. Steve Gruber, the place to go on YouTube. Become a subscriber. Always click the, smash the like button. Don't just push it, slap it. All the programs can be found there. The community is growing. It's live right now. We are on YouTube. So good morning, folks on YouTube. That community growing every day. We appreciate it. You should join. A lot of people in there to discuss the day's events. Some you'll agree with, some you won't. It's called America. It's called the First Amendment. Something we look forward to is, hearing from different people about their opinions. All right, so coming up next, we've got Mark Beckman, CEO of DMA United, producer of Melania. Well, we're going to talk about that coming up, all right? It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so, it's interesting. You read the reviews from the professional reviewers about the movie Melania, right? And they're terrible, of course. Just what you would expect from Hollywood. It's awful, terrible film. Then you hear from the people that went and saw the movie. They love it. And it's rocking it. and it's doing really well in the theaters, by the way. Mark Beckman is here, CEO of DMA United, producer of Melania, and Mrs. Trump's senior advisor and agent for more than 25 years. Mark, thank you for being here.
Steve, it's great to see you. How are you?
I am well. Look, people that are seeing this movie, I've seen the people, they love it. Now, but the critics, man, they're just ripping it, of course. So there's this great divide of critics who, well, what did you expect them to say, Mark, to be honest with you? But for people that see it in the movies, they're really enjoying it, aren't they?
Well, that's what we care about. So we are thrilled that the movie went to #1 highest opening for a film, for a documentary film in 14 years. And we're thrilled about how the fans are rating the film. So there's something called a cinema score. It's very rare for a film to receive the highest score, an A, and we received that, like Avatar received an A. And as it relates to the popcorn meter, out of a potential score of 100, fans rated, we received a 99. And that's what we care about. That's what we did. We made the film for people to go and enjoy. And this is an amazing visual and sonic experience that tells a story, a historic story that's never been told before. So that's all we care about. The reviewers who are leading with ideology and in many cases not even seeing the film, and I could see that they haven't seen it because they're writing, picking up from other articles and all. They could go take a hike. I could care less.
Yeah, but the people, what is the movie? Tell us about this. And what are we seeing? What's the subject matter for people that haven't seen it? Because it's still in theaters, and you say the best place to see it is in theaters because of the cinematography and everything that you did and brought into the artistic part of this movie is important to see it in theater if you can. What are we going to see?
For sure. So the First Lady, Melania Trump, wanted to create a film specifically for people to immerse themselves in theaters. So we don't have any immediate plans to go streaming. Now is the time to go into theaters. And what you're going to experience is unprecedented access to Melania Trump's life. We follow her for the 20 days leading up to the United States presidential inauguration. We look at her family, her business, her philanthropy, and how she prepares to put the United States back on the global stage during this incredible time in Washington, D.C. She opens her lens, this very private, selective person opens a lens to her life. We look at her relationship with the president, with her son, with her father. We look at big issues like security. How does the first family prepare and maintain a certain level of safety coming right off of 2 assassination attempts of President Trump? We look at issues like this that haven't been seen before, and then we take the audience into locations, Steve, that are incredible. So into the White House residence on the first night where President Trump and Melania Trump are living in the White House again, into the Blair House, into Mar-a-Lago. So we see people, geopolitics, security. This isn't a woman's film. This is for everybody. We see people, we see meetings, and we see locations that we've never been able to access before.
Yeah, you know, Melania Trump involved in stopping, in efforts to stop child trafficking, human trafficking in this world, which is a horrible crime. And that's going to play a role in this midterm election cycle. What do you think I mean, you've known her for a long time. What is her role as we head towards these midterm elections, which are always, you know, election years, even off year elections or midterm elections are difficult. And I don't see her a lot on the campaign trail, but I see her out there some. Where does she plug into such a thing?
Well, she's evolving the role of First Lady. In the past year, she's gone from being a typical First Lady that's hosting, you know, important events for our nation, state dinners, family events like the Easter egg roll, into an action-oriented office, an action-oriented East Wing. So she has created new legislation which protects American children with the Take It Down Act. She has created a new executive order that protects foster care children in the United States called the Fostering the Future Executive Order. But on the international stage, she's done incredible things too. So she led the way for 3 reunifications of Ukrainian and Russian children with their families, 3. And if you think about it, Steve, it's really interesting because it's probably the most progress as it relates to that war that we've seen, substantive, tangible progress. We see the Europeans just putting more money and more weapons into supporting Ukraine. I understand that. I get it. But, as it relates to progress on the peace front, it's only been Melania Trump who's been successful there. And then moving back to the United States, she's been leading this charge with our children, K through 12, to educate them in artificial intelligence. In fact, just a few weeks ago, she had 2,000 schools in the United States participate in an AI workshop that she co-hosted with Zoom's CEO, Eric Yuan. And it's incredible. She's got the Presidential AI Challenge that she launched and she's overseeing. We have applicants now from all 50 states, plus Puerto Rico and DC. So she's really changing the role of a first lady in the United States of America.
Yeah. Man, what a schedule. I mean, you see the president, of course, because everybody wants to ask him a question about whatever the topic of the day is, or 2 or 3. But she sounds like she has a packed calendar as well, the way you describe it. She's hustling every day. We just don't see it because she's not the president, right?
Well, Steve, it's an interesting thing, right? We're living in a day and age where those who are the loudest control the narrative. But Melania Trump really is the essence of soft power. In a way, if you look back at the way the royals were, where behind the scenes they were quiet, dignified, but being very impactful. And that's what you see here. You see a person who is balancing her family life with her career, watching out for the American people, family, children, and she's doing an incredible job at it.
There you go. The movie is Melania. Just jump online, find it at a theater near you before it goes away, because Mark says it's a great experience and no plans to stream it at this point. So really appreciate it, Mark. And congratulations. A cinema score of an A, a popcorn rating of 99. Critics that don't see the movies, that write about movies, we have a word for that. We call that a fraud, just for the record. So it is. Mark, always good to talk to you, my friend.
Great to see you. Thank you so much.
There you go. And man, a couple people I know that have seen the movie just think it's the best. Just thought it was just great. So tip my hat. Doing documentaries, which I've done a few, it's hard to do. I haven't done it on that scale. If I had a budget like that, whoo, look out, world. But Melania, fascinating individual to me too. It's a fascinating human story as well. Coming up, we're going to talk to Dr. Ben Tapper here on the program, Director of Epigenetics at the Wellness Company. Don't go anywhere. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Let's jump right back into it now. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday whose mother died last week from cancer. He believes it was related to the COVID vaccine. He believes it was a turbo cancer, but cancer nonetheless. It affects everyone. And, you know, everybody knows somebody, right? I was diagnosed when I was 17, came through it. Thankfully, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this program this morning. But prevention, better than treatment, I think. Dr. Ben Tapper, Director of Epigenetics at the Wellness Company, joining me now. Doctor, nice to see you this morning.
Steve, good morning.
Yeah, the long finger of cancer touches everybody. And as we mentioned last week, February is National Cancer Prevention Awareness Month. I saw a stunning number recently that the vast majority of cancers are not genetic, but lifestyle or environmental factors. Like my friend's mom, he believes it was an environmental factor. There it is. How do we protect ourselves?
Yeah, well, Steve, we have to understand, we have to look at cancer differently. It is a real epidemic right now. 600,000 people die of cancer every single year in this country. It is a real issue. And, the medical establishment say, oh, it's idiopathic. We have no idea the cause. But really, when it boils down to looking at cancer and the causal factors, it's always lifestyle acquired. I mean, we're told that we're sick because of bad genes, bad germs, or bad luck, and that's just bad science. And the reality of the situation is that some cancers, like maybe a very, very small percentage, can be genetic related, but most certainly it's going to be lifestyle acquired disease.
I got a new doctor 3-4 years ago. First thing she asked me, I got to know her, do you eat highly processed meat? No, I don't. I really don't. But it was her first question. And I see the Make America Healthy Again movement saying, look, all this highly processed food, not good for you. You got to eat real food. You got to have real water intake. You got to do what your mom said, honestly. Don't smoke. Pretty simple stuff, isn't it, doctor?
Right. Everything's lifestyle required or lifestyle related. I mean, our choices make, they have consequences. Every choice that we make is either leading us towards health and wellness or sickness and disease. And really the choice is ours. Every choice you make has an end result. You are either feeding disease or you're feeding wellness, and the choice is yours. So we have to look at good lifestyle choices. We must eat well, move well, think well, pray well, and we can be well. And really it's that simple.
Yeah. Pray well. That was a good one. You slipped that in there. I like that.
Yeah.
What environmental factors, what are some things that you avoid that you don't want to be around? Some things that are out there that people can be cognizant of?
Well, first off, we spray, I think, 280 million pounds of glyphosate every year on our soil. Glyphosate is a known carcinogen, Steve, and it's a highly toxic material. So, we spread on most of our, commercialized farming grounds. So I try to, get good water. That's step one, get good water. And then I know my farmer. I know where my food is coming from. I try to buy organic foods. I try to get away from the nutritionally bankrupt foods. I don't eat fast foods. I mean, our food is designed to look better, smell better, taste better, but nutritionally bankrupt.
That's
so
right.
We must get good foods and good nutrition. That's step one. Everything is always toxicity and deficiency. We need to move away from that into purity and sufficiency. And we do that by making good lifestyle choices and getting good foods in the body.
Yeah. I mean, they spend time in labs trying to figure out how much sugar, how much salt, how much to do it, so we can make them want another burger, another chip, another whatever it is. I want to talk about this product called Shield from the Wellness Company. It's a new product. It's to help prevent cancer. It's helped to insulate us against that, to block out some of that environment. Tell me what Shield will do for me.
Yep, Shield's not going to cure cancer, but it's going to definitely help combat it and prevent it. Benjamin Franklin said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And again, we have more stress now than ever before, and cancer has been linked to high stress. But this Shield product it's a new product that hit the market. It was specifically formulated by Dr. Victory herself, who actually defeated cancer. So these ingredients are specifically designed to really help the body combat stress, and especially from a toxicity standpoint. Going away from toxicity and deficiency into purity and sufficiency, the Shield product will do that for you. There's heavy in here. It's a dual delivery system. So you have a capsulation, and then you also have a powder that goes into a drink. But there's turmeric in here, and there's a mountain of literature that talks about turmeric and its benefits of combating cancer. So Shield is a phenomenal product that hit the market, and it's really something that everybody should have on their shelf.
I appreciate that. I remember the day I was told I had cancer. That day, it'll change your life. Really will. I came through it a long time ago. I hope others do as well. But cancer touches everybody. And doctor, getting Shield, anything that can help increase the odds of preventing that day coming for you is always worth the time. Dr. Ben Tapper, always appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. God bless.
God bless you. Now, as he mentioned, February is National Cancer Prevention Awareness Month. So now, more than ever, we need to be asking what each of us can do to lower our chances of cancer. He said 600,000 people in this country die of cancer every year. If you or a loved one is battling cancer, we need to make sure that no stone is left unturned in the effort to stay healthy. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You know the Wellness Company, people like Dr. Ben Tapper, of course, that are on here all the time. Kelly Victory, who just beat cancer. Dr. Peter McCullough. We like this team. The Wellness Company and its doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. The Wellness Company is committed to providing safe, low-cost alternatives to Big Pharma, from ivermectin to methylene blue to their fantastic new product, Shield, that we were just talking about. So much more. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make the promise of the Make America Healthy Again movement a reality for you and your family. This February, let's take control of our health, shall we? I do it every single day. Of course, Ivy chases me around the kitchen with vitamins. It's quite a sight to see. For you, all you need to do is go to twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. You'll save 10%, by the way, using the promo code Gruber. Get all the great products, including my favorite, which I reach over and show you, which are these wellness kits. I think these are great. I do. Medical emergency kit right there. Anyhow, great company, great partners, people that believe in freedom. They were the ones, by the way, back during COVID, people like Ben Tapper, Peter McCullough, Kelly Victory, they're the ones getting silenced on social media for having the guts to tell the truth about it all. Anyhow, we did too. We'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so Nancy Guthrie's still missing. What are we, 18 days in or whatever? I don't think it ends well. But so Megyn Kelly, who I enjoy listening to, I do some. I don't listen to many podcasts. People ask me, who do you listen to? Look, dude, I work so much. Ivy and I work so much. We listen to some if we're traveling, you know. We'll listen to some different things. The Elon Musk biography most recently, which is fascinating, by the way. But so Megyn Kelly here. Listening to Mostly What God Does was a book written by Savannah Guthrie, 2024. In the book, Megyn Kelly shares this on her X account, describes a childhood kidnapping game her older cousin would orchestrate, complete with secrecy and early morning escape and a fake call home saying, Mom, Cousin Terry kidnapped us. Now you fast forward. Nancy Guthrie actually has been kidnapped. Same theme, same family, same city. At what point does a coincidence stop being a coincidence? At what point do you say, what is going on with this Guthrie case? And was Savannah Guthrie's husband in the Epstein files as claimed by numerous people on social media? Is there some nefarious connection there? I'm not saying there is. I'm asking the question. And by the way, we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up later. Ivy's been reading through what she can stomach in the Epstein files. I mean, it's just, I cannot even imagine what they're seeing in this. And here's the thing, by the way, why do members of Congress get to see the whole unfiltered, unredacted truth? Show it to all of us. Somebody needs to go to prison for raping children. Stop trying to worry about, Donald Trump's name in there and get to the people that actually perpetrated crimes against children and throw some handcuffs on them. Where's Pam Bondi? Throw some handcuffs on these people. Hold some people accountable. Some of these emails are basically confessions. Get to it. All right, I'm done for a moment. The program continues 2 more hours. You can catch it on YouTube and all the streaming platforms, of course. This is The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And welcome back to the program as we continue on, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Glad you're along for the conversation on this. Is it Wednesday? Is it Wednesday, Anthony? It must be Wednesday. Here are three big things you need to know. These days tend to run together a little bit. Here are three big things you need to know this hour, though. Number one, how many hours are your kids or grandkids getting screen time every day? The more they see, the more it hurts them, says yet another new study. Number two, is the Jeffrey Epstein case getting put on Republicans when they don't even deserve it? Seems that way, but people want pedophiles nailed to the wall. I get it. And number three, there are big things coming for the midterms, but if there are not arrests in the Jeffrey Epstein case, it will hurt Republicans. I've spoken to a number of pollsters and members of Congress and others who say the polling numbers, even internal polling, absolutely terrible for Republicans on this. Donald Trump might be exonerated, but until some pedophiles start wearing bracelets and ankle chains, it's not going to help anybody. And if the Save America Act is not passed, it will hurt Republicans far more. You can bank on that one. John Solomon says people want the Save America Act. Says President Trump has to make it happen, and he has a way to do that. It all leads to China. Listen.
All the American people are asking John Thune to do is to restore the Senate to the way it used to work before Mitch McConnell's lazy filibuster ideas kind of came into play. And I think that the American people are going to be there. Here's what I think is going to happen, Dan. And I think you probably know some of this because you had a foresight into some of the things that the Bureau now knows that was kept from the American public. I think Donald Trump is going to change the narrative in America. I think he's going to change some senators' minds, and he's going to do it by revealing some of the things that Chris Wray and that Chris Krebs and other major officials who were in charge of the integrity of our elections and who told us it was a perfect election in 2020, he's going to start revealing some of the intelligence that was kept from the American people. And we're going to see that our foreign adversaries have monkeyed with our system more than we knew, more than those driver's licenses coming into Chicago that you helped get all of us to understand about a few months ago, China sending fake driver's licenses to help Joe Biden in. There are going to be significant efforts by foreign powers, some friends, some enemies, that were trying to meddle in the system, and they got pretty far down that path. And I think when senators realized their state could have been targeted, when senators realized that the intention of the identities of some of their voters might have been assumed, I think there's going to be a different debate in America. And I think if the president takes the time to educate people and show them that maybe the stories we got from the last leadership weren't true, I think he's going to pick off the votes. And then the American people are going to put some pressure on John Thune, and they're going to surgically implant a stiff back, and he's going to change that filibuster for this particular thing, make it a standing filibuster, make the Democrats talk till they drop, and then we'll get a vote in the summer. But I think there's some big, significant, and very troubling revelations about the vulnerabilities of our elections that the president is about to unveil on the American public.
Long conversation there with Dan Bongino, John Solomon. A good friend of mine he has become over the last few years, and just a terrific reporter. He's saying some of the same things that I've been saying, that this circles back to China with its finger in all sorts of places, its tentacles leading in all sorts of places into the election, interference, fraud, right? And I guess what he's saying there is when some of these senators realize that China was meddling in their states, you might even get a Democrat or two to come over if they realize China is manipulating outcomes in your states. Or is it just that they'll look the other way because Republicans manipulate primaries in their own states? You know, it's all very messy, isn't it? But it's an important series of questions. Meanwhile, Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri, who I think would make a terrific attorney general, by the way, if Pam Bondi were to go, because she has lost favor with Trump supporters. Senator Eric Schmidt outlines the disaster of Democrat positions headed into 2026. It's also an important counterweight. Here it is.
I think Chuck Schumer, in this specific instance, his journey on this is kind of indicative of the Democrat Party, which once was sort of a mainstream political party and now has reached a level of absurdity and really honestly at war with common sense. If you poll this issue, it's 80 plus. There aren't many issues that are like that, including among Democrats. 70 plus percent of Democrats believe you should actually have to show a photo ID to vote. It's about basic election security. But I think it is interesting, John, that two issues are converging at the same time. We're talking about it in the news. Illegal immigration and voter ID, right? The reality is that Democrats have kind of lost the case. They've lost the argument with the American people. Their only game left now is to open up the border to 15 and 20 million people and hope that they can somehow allow people to vote who shouldn't vote. That's the truth. And so the people that are being disenfranchised from that aren't the illegal immigrants and not people who can't prove who they are, but actually American citizens. They're the ones being disenfranchised by this scheme. And so I think it's very important for us to take this issue seriously, move forward with the Save America Act. But Chuck Schumer, I mean, is being exposed, again, for a position that was very mainstream and still is mainstream, but the party's moved so far to the left, it looks totally ridiculous.
Yeah, it is mainstream. It is, but before, you know, he's right, by the way. Before I leave the Epstein thing, though, here's the most absurd thing. Apparently young people, according to the polling and so forth, are dissatisfied with Donald Trump because there have not been arrests and people held accountable. Transparency without accountability is meaningless to these young voters, apparently. But Bill Clinton appeared in the Epstein files. 1,200 times, something like that. His painting adorned the wall of Epstein's mansion in Manhattan. The biggest mansion in Manhattan was Jeffrey Epstein's. How did that happen? But Hillary Clinton claims there's no link to Jeffrey Epstein. And everybody knows there is, but listen to what she says.
Do you regret the links that there have been? You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about. They are accused, and in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And we...
Yeah. No connection. Charitable work by Bill Clinton. Is that what you call it now? Charitable work? Ah, yes. Charitable work. Anyhow. We'll see where it goes. I really think that in order for the midterm elections, you've got to have some people that are actually taken into custody and put on trial. I mean, some of these emails, you read them, they're confessions. They describe what they did. If you can take it, if your stomach can take it. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. You know, you see these walkouts, these protests, these kids in high schools now, which, by the way, most of them don't care. These ICE walkouts and protests, they're just skipping school. If that had been me in high school, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm out of here. See you later. But it is being fueled in this generation of activists, of anarchists, has been built. They've built their foot soldiers, and they're still building them. Erica Sanzia, Senior Director of Communications at Defending Education. She joins me now. Erica, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Mega donors. Let's see. A bunch of foreign governments, people that are, dissatisfied here at home, fueling and funneling money to these causes. And the only cause here is to create agitation and upend America. We're under attack from so many different directions. It's hard for me to keep up, but here we go. The schools telling kids to walk out to resist the police. Really?
Oh, they're not just telling them to walk out to resist the police. They're explicitly in the training materials that are coming from some of these outside groups and making their way into the schools. They're calling for political revolution. That's the language that they use. They call for mass non-cooperation by high school students with immigration authorities in their walkout guide. So they have created training materials specifically for walkouts that are specifically targeted at high school students. And they call for mass.
How do I get my hands on one of these walkout guides? I've not seen one. How do I get one?
We did get our hands on them at Defending Education. I don't work on our research team, so I don't have it, right in my hand, but we'll get it to you after this broadcast.
Absolutely. Just send me copies of it at least, but I'd like to figure out how to get a hard copy of this. Where's the money coming from?
It's coming from, I think, some of the usual suspects. Certainly the Tides Foundation is involved. I want to say that the Soros folks are also involved, but I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I'm not positive. I think it's also the Ford Foundation is involved. So basically what it would be is if you could think of what
Foundation.
I think, let me just.
That's okay. But the fact that those names would even be in circulation.
Essentially what we have are the usual groups that fund far left activity and sort of activism and agitation. So in this case, it's a group called Sunrise Movement. People will remember them from the occupation of Nancy Pelosi's office a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez actually joined the occupation. They were originally founded as a climate activism group. But at the moment, climate's kind of out and being anti-ICE is in. So they've really shifted. So now their priority is training people and students to engage in these mass non-cooperation activities involving immigration. And that is what we saw. So Sunrise Movement.
But the Sunrise Movement, originally was, climate change, which has proven to be a waste of everybody's time. It always is. Climate change, which explains everything. Hot days, cold days, wet days, dry days, climate change. So they moved on from that is what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's not a hot issue right now. They can't get the streets
no pun intended.
full of people. They can't get the streets full of people or high schoolers right now in service of climate change.
It's interesting how you put in service of, so now it's in service of anarchy, because that's what this is. They are creating, as I said at the top of this segment, creating foot soldiers for anarchy. And it's being funded by George Soros. It's being funded by the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, how long do we have to sit here with the CIA, with its head in its backside, or the FBI or anybody else? I mean, we know what's going on. China interfered in the 2020 elections. We know that, and they did it more robustly than you have any idea, but you will soon, because the stories are about to come out, because the information they're infiltrating us all the time. So we've got attacks from the southern border, attacks from Soros, attacks from China, attacks from these agitated little creatures and things that we've created. How do we survive all this?
That is a great question, Steve. I mean, one thing that clearly appears to be happening is that people are still unwilling to admit what is going on. I mean, Becky Pringle is involved with this Sunrise Movement group. She is involved in what we call the roadmap to political revolution. That is what the NEA is putting out and giving to its teachers. Far too many people still think of the NEA and the teachers union as just like a nice group of teachers, right? I like my kid's teacher. So one of the problems, and there's no question here that the lack of courage in the media, or the dishonesty in the media, or the unwillingness to cover this is a problem. And because I am not a caricature of the right because I am telling people what is going on with the teachers union that I was once a member of. Instead, I am a person watching what is happening and seeing that we have morphed into a place that is unrecognizable and that is now using students as pawns. I mean, let's remember, my child cannot be administered a Tylenol in school without my permission. But we watched schools across the country allow students to walk out of the building during the school day with no parental consent or permission.
That's right, but in the state of Washington, they couldn't go see the Seattle Seahawks victory parade after the Super Bowl, but they could walk out for some faux anti-federal agent nonsense. Anyhow, really good stuff, Erica.
We saw this after Parkland. They were allowed to walk out to protest guns after Parkland. But students who have different opinions and want to walk out for issues that are not aligned with, the dominant narrative in these schools would not be allowed to walk out of school.
They weren't able to walk out for Charlie Kirk, were they? No. Erica, I'll leave it there. You come back whenever. These are important conversations.
I just want to make a correction, not a correction, but according to the reporting, we have the Ford Foundation, the Tides Foundation, and the Windward Fund.
So it is the Ford Foundation. We need more on this. I need one of these. I'm going
to send you. I will get to our people who know your people, and I will get you the report.
Yeah. Thank you, Erica.
Great to see you, Steve. Thanks.
Great to see you. It's a lot to deal with, but we have to fight it. All right, let's see here. I'm doing a little math for you here while in real time, all right? Because this is important, because I'm trying to figure out your tax returns and the money you're getting back. Up 11% over last year, which is important. So your average tax return last year for the average American was just over $2,000. This year it'll be $2,300 average. And some of the tax returns are going to be remarkably bigger. Some tax returns up to 20 grand. The average expected to rise in the weeks ahead, since the current figures do not include millions of earned income tax credits and additional child tax credit refunds. Tax cuts included in the One Big Beautiful Bill are projected to boost refunds for millions of taxpayers. The increase could be $1,000 per filer. But some of these are going to be a lot bigger. Last year, the average refund, $3,167. Only about 63% of taxpayers get them. Right, so the numbers are going to continue to go up. Because your first, I don't know why this is, it shows this consistently every year. Your original tax refund, February 7th, $2,065. By February 21, $34.53. They just go up. The later they, I don't know why that is. I'll have to dig into that and find out why. But anyhow, your tax return, your average refund up as promised. Some of them would be significantly up, which is good news. You get a $3,000 check in the mail today. Does it help you do something? If you get a $5,000 check in the mail today, does it help you do something? Yeah, sure it does. That's real economics. That's not, hey, the Dow's at 50,000, which is fine and all, but it doesn't change a lot of folks at the kitchen table. All right, Brian Lonergan, Director of Strategic Communications, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, will be back. He'll discuss no border, no country right here after this. All right, jumping back into it now with Brian Lonergan. He's joining me. He is from the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR. Democrats, once again, don't consider our borders or our national security to be much of a concern. No, they want to defund federal agents trying to get illegals out of the country. Brian, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Steve.
Unbelievable, but here we are again. Democrats wanted to defund the police. They have, as we just talked about with my previous guest, you have high school kids walking out of class to protest. Actually, I think the kids are just skipping school, and they've got an excuse to do so, but there's a few agitators in there. But look, I like the Coast Guard. I like the TSA agents to keep planes safe. I like FEMA when they come in to help people. These are what they're defunding. ICE is funded through 2029 with $75 billion. Do they just hate this country that much? I'm just lost here. I'm just trying to sort it out. Can you help me?
Sure. It's really interesting because a lot of these Democrats are going around now saying, we're just as pro-immigration enforcement as anyone else. We just don't like the way the Trump administration is doing it. So they've committed this act of political blackmail to hold up DHS funding. And what do they really want? What are they demanding? They're demanding that ICE require judicial warrants. This is something that would be so cumbersome that it would make arrest and deportation of illegal aliens almost impossible. They want to limit where ICE can make arrests. This means usually it's churches, hospitals, places like that, but it would in fact make the whole country a sanctuary jurisdiction, even in places where they have not voted to become sanctuaries. But this would make them that because the word would get out very quickly where you can go to avoid legal consequences for being here illegally. The other big sticking point is they want ICE agents to not be able to wear masks. And they frame this as, oh, they're scary and they're doing it because they're committing crimes. They don't want to be held accountable. We all know that's not the reason. The reason is because a lot of these protesters, like we've seen in these videos, are videotaping them, these agents. They're doxing them. They're trying to find out where they live. They can threaten their wives and children. And that's the reason. And it's just, they know this stuff will result in chaos. And I think that's the point.
You know, I look at, there's just certain things that I don't understand. If you poll, and I've got some good friends that are pollsters, good pollsters. You ask people, do you want a secure border? Of course you do. It's like an 80-20 issue. Do you want to make sure that only American citizens vote? It's an 85-15 issue. I mean, go right down the list. The common sense issues. I just saw a brand new poll here when it comes to national security, immigration, and foreign policy. Trump and the Republicans on national security +10, on immigration +8. I mean, this is from Morning Consult, by the way. This is a left-leaning organization. Even they had to admit the numbers, and they're probably bigger than that, actually. And by halting DHS, the Democrats just expose themselves for being anti-American. Look, I like the guy next door as much as anybody. I don't care where they're from, as long as they're here working, contributing. They came in the right way. They're not some, felon. Am I wrong? I mean, I'll take a nice neighbor. I don't care what they look like, as long as they're friendly and they work hard and they contribute to this thing. I think that's what most people want.
You're not wrong, Steve. And this raises an important question. Are we going to be a nation of laws, or are we going to be a nation that's governed by emotions and what things look like?
And children.
If we're going to have laws, we have to enforce the laws.
Yeah.
If we're just going to say, well, if you're here illegally, but you're not violent, you're not committing violent crimes, well, you could stay. Well, the next question is, what other laws are we just going to say, well, we don't really need to
Well, in fairness, I mean, I do got to jump in there, Brian. I mean, in fairness, we're never taking 20 or 25 million people out of this country. We're not. Some of them have been here for 20 or 25 years. It's too expensive. It's too labor intensive. It's too cumbersome. The people will get fatigued. We do have to take out the worst of the worst first, but we do. I'm sorry to say, this is going to not make people happy, probably not even you. But somewhere in the middle there is where we're going to end up. We're not taking 20 million people out of this country. It's never going to get done. Am I wrong?
It's not easy. And I think getting the biggest threats to the community out of the way or prioritizing them is a good start. However, as I said, we're either going to have laws in the country or we're not. And at some point, we're going to say, well, if the laws don't matter, then what's the point? What laws?
No, I get it, but to enforce some of those laws, my point being is to enforce some of those laws. And I know of a case here in Michigan where a guy had come as a child, raised his family here, had some minor run-in when he was a teenager, and had a didn't even know it had an order of removal. He was able to successfully push back on that with help from a member of Congress. And he stayed, and he should stay. He's been here for 55 years. He came towards the end of the Vietnam War, right? And I agree with you. We need to enforce the laws. But how do you enforce it to get 20 or 25 million people out? That's where it's a math problem. It's not a law and order problem to me, Brian. It's a math problem. And I agree with you. If you came here illegally, you should be gone. But some of it's 25 or 55 years old. I don't know how to fix all that. If you're a gangbanger, if you're a child trafficker, if you're a rapist, I mean, you're just gone. There's no question. I mean, I can't believe that New York City just released some people that were convicted violent felons back onto the streets. I don't know what the answer is, Brian. It's a math problem to me.
Well, the other problem, Steve, is that there's this notion out there that, well, illegal immigration is a victimless crime, unless you're...
That's not true.
Crime, right. We did a study here not long ago. It said the cost of illegal immigration is $150 billion a year.
I think it's probably higher than that, because I hear people from Chicago, for example, black residents in Chicago saying, you're pushing all these people in here, taking our jobs. I mean, I can see that daily on social media. They're mad as hell because they're losing economic opportunity. Go on.
Right. And we have cities on the brink of insolvency. We've seen what happened in Minnesota with the fraud up there. If we can put a significant dent in the illegal immigration problem in this country, the society is going to be better across the board. So do we say, well, there's nothing we can do about it, so let's just not do anything about it? I think we have an obligation to work on this problem because it affects so many aspects of our society. It affects our schools, it affects our healthcare, it affects our jobs. So to just say, well, they're minding their own business, well, no. And most of the people that come over here legally are committing identity fraud. So there's just a stream of criminal activity that comes from illegal immigration and tolerating illegal immigration to the extent that we have up to this point.
Yeah. I agree. It's not, you're right. The one thing I completely agree with you on, which is a lot of what you talk about, it's not going to be easy. No matter what direction we decide to go, it's not going to be easy. Brian, always good talking to you. And I agree with you. If you're here illegally, you should go. I just don't know how we get there financially. The cost of removing people is one of the math problems, but the criminals got to go. Brian Lonergan, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. The Federation for American Immigration Reform, I agree with it, but to me, you look at 20 million people, and like I said, the one case I'm aware of, the guy had been here for 55, his whole life. He got here when he was 2. But his parents hadn't come in legally, so really he was not here. Anyhow, you can't be cookie cutter either, right? We'll talk more about it after the break. All right, let's jump back into it. I want to do a follow-up here to, who you take out of the country. Brian Lonergan, I agree, the Director of Communications for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. He's also the co-host, by the way, if I didn't mention, No Border, No Country podcast. Here's one thing I want to share with you. Tom Homan, a couple of comments from Tom. One, about the dishonesty of the media when it comes to the number of children that they have recovered, and some of them in pretty difficult places, to say the least. First of all, listen to this.
300 children. You know, the last administration, over 500,000 children smuggled in this country, released to unvetted sponsors. They lost track of 300,000 of them. President Trump has already found 145,000 of them. In Minnesota alone, over 3,300 missing children we found that the last administration wasn't even looking for.
Wasn't even looking for. You know, and here's the dishonesty of the media coverage. You didn't hear about 350,000 missing children during the Biden years, but you heard about kids being put in cages during Trump's first administration, even though those so-called cages, which are just chain link fences, they're modular. You buy them at, Tractor Supply type modular chain link fence sections just to, give people space from each other or to protect them potentially from other people, whatever it could be. Right? But they don't even tell you about the kids that were missing during the Biden years. And they don't tell you that these kids are being recovered during the Trump years. And just how bad are some of these abuses? Set your breakfast down. All right? Here's Tom Homan again.
2 days ago, an example, 14-year-old little girl living with 2 adult males who trafficked her, and we found her she's pregnant from trafficking, being forced into prostitution. 14 years old. So we're taking care of her, both physically and mentally. Despite what the media says, we're not heartless. We care about these kids. I'm a father. And the reason I'm so emotional and so headstrong on this issue, because I've dealt with dying children throughout my career. I've held dying children. I've held dead children. I talked to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by the criminal cartels. I'll never forget it. When you get on your knees to talk to a 9-year-old little girl, everything innocent and pure is ripped from her, and she don't believe in humanity anymore because you had a bunch of animals crawling on her and taking everything pure from her. You'll never forget it.
I want you to just let that sink in. And that also brings me back to some of the things I've read in the Epstein files, right? Leon Black. Here's one of the names in the Epstein files. It's available online. Private equity CEO, billionaire, mentioned many times. He raped the 16-year-old girl. I'm not going to tell all the details. Left her injured, we'll just say that, and in need of medical attention, I'll just say that. They refused to get her any medical attention, shipped her by plane back to New York, where she lived. Another victim, 10 years old, Leon Black, look him up. We don't excuse pedophilia. We don't excuse a lack of prosecution. We want prosecution. But I draw the line here. Donald Trump is not in the Epstein files. But that doesn't mean we stop looking. He's been exonerated, sure. The Democrats didn't get their gift that they thought that they had, which, of course, they would have shared years earlier if they actually had that. Other names are in there. Steve Bannon and Roger Stone battling it out. Roger Stone taking great issue with Steve Bannon, as are others, for his appearance in the Epstein files and apparently being hired to be Epstein's fixer, I guess, PR guy, was allegedly working on a documentary of some fashion. Spent a lot of time. He's in there a lot. There are about 14 hours of video, apparently. If it's a documentary, let's see it. I don't mind. I mean, I know Steve. Show us your cards. To me, it doesn't matter who's in there. Unredact the names. Put them out there. And let the chips fall. Howard Lutnick's name's been bannered around. All right, well, if it's Howard Lutnick, so it is. Whoever the pedophiles are, bring them to the light. Now, to me, the balance on that is I don't think that should have the impact on the elections it's having. But for young voters, this apparently is a big deal. A big deal. And I mean, a big enough deal that they're not going to vote for Trump people or Republicans unless they see people in handcuffs. That's how serious this one is to them. All right? So there you go. Let's see. This part of the program brought to you by Victory Nutrition International. The best vitamins you're ever going to have come from Victory Nutrition International. VNI.com. Ivy did all of her research. Trust me, when Ivy does her research, we get the best products in this house when it comes to health. Protovite is a great formula. It absorbs quickly. Multivitamin, they mean it. Over 100 nutrients, B vitamins, amino acids, zinc, plant extracts. You get daily support for energy, focus, immune health, only from Victory Nutrition International. VNI. VNI.life/Gruber. You'll save 20%. And if you get a subscription, you'll give an even better deal and lifetime free shipping. VNI.life/Gruber. Go check it out. All right, let's check in with Brock Palmbush in sports.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmush. Lots of college basketball last night on the men's side. Number 1 Michigan, number 12 Florida, and number 15 Michigan State all won. But 9th ranked Nebraska, 13th ranked Texas Tech, 16th ranked North Carolina, and 18th ranked St. Louis all lost. Just one top 25 game on the women's side. 17th ranked Ole Miss knocked off 21st ranked Tennessee 94-81. Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark resigned his post yesterday after an investigation showed that he had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who is an MLBPA employee since 2023. Clark was also being investigated for alleged financial improprieties involving a licensing company and a youth baseball initiative. At the Winter Olympics in Italy yesterday, the U.S. took silver in men's big air freestyle skiing and in speed skating team pursuit men's side. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. All right, so Michigan wins again. What are they, 24-1, something like that?
25-1 now.
Oh, excuse me, 25. Have they ever started like this? I mean, pretty rare for any team, isn't it?
Well, there is only one undefeated team left in men's college basketball, and that's Miami of Ohio in the Mid-American Conference.
All right, well, and that's nice for them.
It is.
The Red Hawks, right?
Yep.
But seriously, 25-1 is pretty rare air for any. Pretty rare you have a season where a team has gone that far, that high, but they can fall, right?
They are one bad shooting night from being knocked out of the NCAA tournament in the second round.
In the second round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll take the over-under on that.
Yeah, no, I think they'll go further than that, but, you know, they run into somebody that shoots 60% and they shoot 35%, they could be done.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Greatly appreciate the input, Brock. We'll see. But 25-1, I mean, that's doesn't happen very often.
No,
Has any team ever gone undefeated?
Oh, it's happened quite a few times. The last team to do it, though, was 50 years ago, Indiana.
Oh, all right. There you go. 50 years. All right, there you have it. Next hour up here on the Steve Gruber Show. Don't go anywhere. We're undefeated, too, by the way. At what, I don't know, but we're just undefeated.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome back to it, kicking off another brand new hour. Gosh, it's good to have you here. We really appreciate it. We do this for you. Not doing it to get rich, apparently. Three big things this hour. Number one, DNA testing in the Nancy Guthrie case yields no database match. The glove did not match the house did not match the glove, and neither one matched anything in the databases. So two big fat zeros. Number two, Minnesota Democrats are demanding reparations from ICE after they lost $18 billion of Somali fraud. You can't make that up. They can't run their own departments, and then they want ICE to pay them $18 billion. How about go pound sand? And here's a very sad story. It's one that's going to come to you in America because certain states like Oregon and Massachusetts and others are following suit on this assisted suicide that's happening in Canada. They're called the MAID laws, medical assistance in dying. MAID laws, medical assistance in dying in Canada. And here's the headline, right? Grieving parents demand changes after 26-year-old son euthanized. Like he's a damn German shepherd, right? And I love dogs. No disrespect to the German shepherd. Grieving parents demand changes after a 26-year-old, their son was euthanized under the controversial law. Keanu suffered from diabetes and blindness, which met the criteria. He was diabetic and he had sight issues. The grieving parents of a 26-year-old man are speaking out against Canada's MAID laws, arguing the system failed to protect their vulnerable son from being euthanized, which is to be murdered by the state, despite a history of mental illness. Keanu Vafian was put to death December 30th, 2025 in British Columbia. Type 1 diabetic, age 4. After a car accident at the age of 17, he had some mental health issues. His mother, Margaret Marcella of Ontario, said his depression was often seasonal, yet he became obsessed with MAID after he was blind in just one eye in 2022. He kept on emphasizing how he could get approved, Marcella told Fox News. We never thought there'd be a chance that any doctor would approve a 22 or 23-year-old at the time for MAID because of diabetes or being blind in one eye. The MAID laws, the assisted suicide laws, were legalized, by the way, in Canada in June 2016. The law allows patients with grievous and irremediable medical conditions to request a lethal drug that is either physician or self-administered to kill themselves. To kill themselves. In 2022, after a Toronto doctor initially approved Vafian's request, the family launched a public pressure campaign on social media to voice their opposition. The outcry led the doctor to withdraw the approval while Vafian was initially angry. His family said he showed signs of improvement over the following year, even moving in with him in 2024. He tried his best when he was one of those good highs of life, Marcella said. Then winter, fall started coming around. He started changing, and then everything that we worked for from spring and summer just disappeared. He started talking about MAID laws again. The family said Vafian was rejected by multiple doctors in Ontario before he sought out Dr. Ellen Wiebe, a prominent maid provider in British Columbia. Marcella believes Wiebe coached her son on what to say to meet the criteria for Track 2 patients whose natural deaths are not reasonably imminent or imminent at all. We believe she was coaching him on how to deteriorate his body, what she can possibly approve him for, and what she can get away with approving him for. Because if he had spoken back in 2024 and he was a good candidate for approving maids, she would have done it right away, but she didn't, of course. Vafian's parents said they were not notified of the approval and only learned of his death days after it had already happened. They noted his medical records did not substantiate the severe peripheral neuropathy listed on his death certificate as a qualifying factor. This whole process came to us as a shock. In 2021, eligibility for MAID was expanded to include applicants with grievous and irremediable conditions. Those deaths are not reasonably foreseeable. The family is now advocating for the repeal of this Track 2 provision and the passage of Bill C-218, a legislative effort to restrict MAID for patients whose underlying issue is solely mental illness. Look, what I told you then, I'll tell you now. They're just going to start killing people. Oh, you got depression? Yes, get in line right there. You can get your shot. We can have you dead by the end of the day. Oh, don't feel well. Oh, too fat, too short, too tall, too thin, whatever it might be. Whatever it might be. I mean, if you can have doctors who can basically talk you into committing suicide. I guess there are 13 states now. I grossly undercounted. New York is state 13, plus the District of Columbia. 13 states now. You can commit suicide. The devaluation of life in Western culture and Western civilization is frightening. I, my friends, want to live, even at my old age, right? A new year, in fact, I want to take care of myself. A new year doesn't need extreme diets or complicated routines. It needs consistency. Longevity Wellness helps you build that habit with one clean, all-in-one nutritional shake that supports strength, focus, digestion, and immune health. It's smart nutrition you can actually stick with. Start strong today. Visit longevitywellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber for a special listener discount. That's Gruber, longevitywellness.co. If you become a subscriber, you'll get an even better deal. The thing about longevity that I really like are the real ingredients. Kale, spinach, carrots, mushroom extracts, all sorts of good stuff. And it tastes great. The QR code's right there. Right there. Click on that. Right there. We use it in this house. I think the kid uses it every day.
I use it every day.
And my other kid, Anthony, uses it every day.
That's right.
So my son and my adopted son both use it. It's a great product, isn't it, Anthony?
It is, yeah. I love it.
Yeah, you go to the gym, you use it. You know, you just need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon. It's just good stuff.
I'm bench pressing 225, sometimes more.
Woo!
Thanks to longevity.
Stud master. All right, longevity.co. Longevitywellness.co. Promo code Gruber. We'll be right back. All right, I lit a fuse here, but I'll share it with you now too. Ron Rademacher is joining me here. Just bring him up. Ron, how are you? No fancy introduction here today. Just so there is a proposed ballot initiative in Oregon. I just shared this with you. Got a friend of mine who's a salmon and steelhead guide, an elk guide for Roosevelt elk, which are a different kind of beast. In Oregon, initiative petition 28. They need about 10,000 more signatures to get it on the ballot for the fall. They've got about 107 or 8,000. They need 117,000 by July. So they're going to get the signatures. Got a long way to go. If it's passed by the voters, it would outlaw hunting, fishing, livestock farming, breeding, trapping, pest control. That means you can't even kill a mouse with a mouse trap. And animal research. Any intentional injuring or killing of an animal, including for food, hunting, or fishing, would become a criminal offense. I've told people for years, if you hunt and you fish and you don't vote, you are a fool. There.
Well, that might be, that blows all the questions I had right out of the water, because, I had a couple of questions about what's going on in the country, but this preempts everything, because I can't imagine how they got to that point where it actually was. I mean, who had this meeting to write this up and put it on the...
Well, hold on, Ron. I can answer that question because I studied this. I haven't looked at it in a number of years, but more than 50 law schools in America have animal rights education. That they believe a rat is a bat is a boy. They believe that animals should have equal standing, that animals should have their own attorneys and representations in court, even though they can't speak the language. And you can only do whatever. This is, you give, every time you move forward, they try to go farther because they think, here's the thing. If a vegetarian eats something, Ron, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what they eat. If I eat something, the vegetarian's hair is on fire. You can't eat that. Look, I don't tell you what to eat, right? I don't care. Anyhow.
So at what point does the animal become an accessory after the fact? I mean, if we're not legal.
If you have a beagle running rabbits, then the beagle's an accessory after the fact, and then but you can't euthanize the beagle because you can't hurt anybody. Anyhow, a lot of these folks don't even think you should have a dog on a leash, right?
The rabbit that got caught will sue the rabbit that outran him because he was complicit.
Anyhow.
I mean, we're one step from old England where they used to put pigs and animals on trial for witchcraft. We're less than a step away from that now.
Right now, we put pigs and animals in Congress.
Let's not go there. I don't want to get into...
Too late. Said it. Animal Farm. Thank you. Anyhow,
Yes.
go on. So let's talk about some... but I'm going to follow this story. Oregon to outlaw hunting and fishing. We'll keep you updated on that. But, Ron, what do you got for us that's fun today?
Well, I just don't know how I can follow that.
But
I might include that in my my oddities and rarities program, which the world tour is gearing back up for spring now, and I will be at the Tamarack Library in Lakeview on Tuesday. Oddities and rarities program. Perhaps I can put in some of the odd laws that are making their way onto the book. So that's coming up, and I do have, along with that animal thing. Now, this is important because this is from an update from Lake Superior State University. Licenses are valid again for unicorn hunting. And there's 3 days of the year when you cannot go out hunting them. One of them is Valentine's Day.
Right, that makes sense.
But now that day's gone by, and the bag limit is 1 per month. So I would be interested to hear what the legislature in Oregon has to say about hunting unicorns in the Upper Peninsula. You can actually get a license.
Interesting. I love it. I think we should be part of it. I think we should just, get our tag and go hunting.
I think so.
Can you imagine, what do you tell the officer? All right, you've got a rifle in your hand. You're tiptoeing through the neighborhood. What are you doing? Well, I'm unicorn hunting. I have a tag.
Unicorn hunting. Yeah, I'm not hunting deer. I'm unicorn hunting. And, I'm wondering if you have to have a photo ID in order to get your license. You see, it gets deeper and deeper everywhere.
The answer is yes. Of course, you need a photo ID to get the license.
Okay. But you didn't have to have a photo ID to vote for this law out in Oregon. I want to bet that's the point.
I don't know if I don't know, actually, no.
That'll be, you can
less than 20.
research.
Here's the update: less than 20,000 signatures away from getting it on the ballot. And I just think those idiots in Oregon, because you got such leftists there, you got Portland, they might just vote to eliminate hunting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and vegans rule. If that's where you want to live. Fortunately, the borders are still open. We have open borders, as you may have heard, and you can move. So,
yeah,
you can keep your hunting dogs at a kennel in California. So we got other cool stuff going on here. Let me get a couple of these in before we run out of time, because some people do like to get out and play. You and I were talking about ice fishing up around Escanaba, Badenoch. Ice fishing is great. Gwynn, while we still have winter, because we're losing our snow quickly, as you may have noticed if you looked outside, Gwynn is having their Michigan ice racing event this weekend. And if you've ever had a chance to be there, Anthony, you would love it, because it's not snowdrift, but this is dirt bikes and quads on a trail that challenges anything you've seen for riding, and that's going to be a great event. And then the Snowmobile Museum in Nobbinway, if you've never stopped there, it's right on US 2. They're having their top of the lake snow show and ride this weekend. And I'm not sure yet, I'm waiting to hear, but they might be firing up the snowmobile they got in there. It has a V8 engine mounted on it.
Yeah.
It's one of the racers. So that
sounds safe.
Yeah, they put you right on Lake Michigan and let you open that baby up.
All right, so hold on. We'll bring you back for a 2-minute bonus, because I hogged your time there, Ron, and I'm feeling guilty about that. So I hogged your time to figure out what's going on in Oregon. All right, so Ron Ray will make her through one break for a 2.5-minute encore performance of the Michigan Backroads author extraordinaire. After this, we'll be right back.
Have fun just listening to it.
All right, Ron, because I got on that tangent about Oregon, and I think they could get it passed. That's the thing, and I don't know what you do about it if it passes. Look, the North American model for game management's the best in the world. Thank you, Teddy Roosevelt and others that followed. To mess with that because you have some half-baked notion that a rat is equal to a boy. Well, anyhow. Ron, what else up? I can't help
we don't want to miss out on we are running out of winter, so a couple of things here we should get in. You don't have to go way up north if you want to get out and have some winter fun. Wayland is having their Gun Lake Winter Fest. You can have some fun on that lake. They do include a polar plunge. Boyne City, up there near the northern compound, is having the Icebreaker Boyne this weekend.
What does that mean?
And that means that out on Lake Charlevoix, they're going to chop a hole in the ice and you can do a polar plunge there.
Yeah, I think
so.
That's
Lots
just,
of opportunity.
I do the cold plunge at the gym. I do, and it's brutal, and that's enough for me. Yeah. I don't need to get. First of all, me in my Speedo in the dead of winter in front of other people. I don't think that's in good taste, Ron.
It's not really a good look, especially if you're used to the real blue men. And then to see you prancing across, curvetting, that's the word I was searching for, curvetting across the ice. and then into the hot sauna. So that's going on. They're going to have another one in Alpena at their ice festival. If you don't want to do that, we have lantern-lit snowshoe hikes across Michigan to Quamanon Falls, Porcupine Mountains, Mitchell State Park in Cadillac, and the Hartwick Pines. If you want to go indoors, up there in Interlaken, I don't know if you've ever been to the Interlaken Music Academy, Arts Academy, but fantastic.
I hear nothing but good things. I don't think I've ever actually been there, but it's a fabulous place. We got to leave it there for today, Ron.
That's it for today. They have an indoor event coming up. It's a great facility, and they promote the best young people trying to get into the arts. Jazz, painting, crafts,
Arts Academy Orchestra. All good stuff. MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com. And listeners and Ron, if you decide to do a polar plunge, get video, send it on in so we can use it against you. Thank you very much. MichiganBackroads.com.
Not me. Right back to you on that, Steve.
Thank you.
Back to you on that.
All right, let's jump right back into it now. I've got Senator Michael Holstrom. He's a Minnesota state senator, represents District 29. Minnesota's ICE clash, the accountability, the protests, the policy. The federal government's pulled out in good part here, Senator. Good to have you on the program, by the way.
Thanks for
Tom
the invite.
Homan and company changed direction completely, and I know why. I've got these people from Trump supporters who say, "Oh, I can't believe we did this. We pulled back. We never should." It was polling terribly on the national scene. Members of Congress, Republican friends of mine, it was polling terribly. It needs to be done differently. But the real fault was with the state of Minnesota. If you had just put these people in jail cells and left them there until somebody from ICE could pick them up, none of this would have happened. Alex Preddy would be alive. Nicole Good would be alive. We'd have none of these issues. What's the latest from the front line?
Yeah, well, to that point, the lawlessness and refusal of Minnesota to follow federal immigration law and creating this sanctuary state policies and giving everybody ideas, that's really the problem here. And then we double that down in Hennepin County. The county attorney refuses to hold anybody accountable for crime. So yeah, if Alex Preddy and Nicole Good could have been arrested the first time that they broke the law and put in jail and actually held accountable, they would be alive today. And this is the consequence of not enforcing crime and not enforcing the law is when you allow it to happen, you get more of it, and it's at a higher degree, which creates more danger.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. If you have a federal law enforcement agent going into a jail facility, for example, there's no danger. You go out on the streets when you've got these, if I may be so bold, these idiots blocking traffic, blowing whistles, screaming and hollering and creating chaos to pick up somebody that had already been in jail. There's a problem, Senator. Here's potentially somebody who's, I just saw New York do this again yesterday. I've seen Tom Homan said Minnesota did it 650 times last year, released people back into the community that had no business being there. What does this do? This is something I've truly wondered. What is the political environment in Minnesota? If Amy Klobuchar decides to run for governor, my best guess is she probably will, right? Then you'll have two open what's that?
She's already announced.
Yeah, there you go. So Amy Klobuchar is running for governor. And that means there are two open Senate seats in Minnesota. How a good Republican, can't win at least one of those seats is beyond me, honestly. What is the state of the voter mentality in Minnesota?
It's really it's a difficult state because we are a purple state, as purple as you can be. Our state legislature in the House is actually perfectly tied, 67 to 67, and we have the Republican speaker. But in the Senate, we're down by just one vote. The Democrats have one vote majority on us, so they win by these slim numbers and take them as absolute mandates to do the craziest stuff. Klobuchar is going to run. It's not as clear that she's going to win as people think it is. She's polled down on every single election and consistently gets less and less votes. She's not a very popular person. And when Minnesotans go national, when they run for national office, as she did a few years ago, they usually end up performing very, very poorly. So her last poll that I saw, she actually was polling behind Tim Walz, who had to drop out of the race because of how terrible he is. So this is definitely an open state. We have a chance to win. We've got some great Senate candidates. I think that we're going to beat Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who the Democrats put up, a total crazy person, trans radical.
For one of the seats.
For one of the seats. The other seat will be appointed by the new governor. If Amy Klobuchar wins, she'll obviously have to resign, and then in Minnesota she can just appoint her replacement. So that will not be an election.
That's too bad. There won't even be an election to fill out her term?
Correct, yeah. She'll just appoint, and most people think
and you
that
got a lot
she's
of
going to give
lousy
it to
laws
Tim
in
Walz.
Minnesota. I ought to come up there and be king for a day and fix some things up there for you. Anyhow, that's fine. So it is. So you got one race. I guess I was mistaken about that, and Amy Klobuchar will just pick some leftist, whatever, right? And so it's solely up to the governor to choose who fills that seat.
Yeah.
Unless Amy Klobuchar doesn't win. That's
Then
what I'm
she
saying.
won't
Here it is. Another headline: $18 billion Somali fraud. Tim Walz, Jacob Fry. How unpopular is Tim Walz, honestly? And I don't mean that from a Republican perspective. Just how unpopular?
So I actually ran the most recent Senate election in Minnesota. I'm the newest senator here, and the most common question I got at doors is, "Hey, what can I do to get Tim Walz out of office?" If I ask people what their number one issue was, 8, 9 times out of 10, they're asking me how to get rid of Tim Walz. He is not popular. He is very despised, and because he appears to have been working with ICE and Tom Homan to get to end this, even though he wasn't, and his policies are ridiculous, his rabid leftist base of rioters who he encourages has turned on him. They're outside his mansion right now, arguing
Okay,
and,
so
and
how
protesting
does
with
that
bullhorns.
and how does that translate into this next race for governor and that open Senate seat? I mean, if Wisconsin can elect one liberal and one conservative to the United States Senate, I would think that Minnesota could do the same thing, right?
Yeah, we have a really good base of candidates right now. We've got Adam Schwarzy, we have Michelle Tafoya. Both of them are top tier candidates who are running for this race. They have raised a ton of money, and they're out there uh, gaining support. And we have endorsements here, and we actually have a caucus system in Minnesota, so they'll get endorsements from the state party, and like one of them will go on to beat Peggy Flanagan. Tim Walz is lieutenant governor, is going to be who runs against them, and she is a total nightmare person. As radical as you can get, she makes AOC look like a blue dog Democrat. So this is the type of person they're going to run. Normal Minnesotans are not going to be favorable to that.
Yeah. Well, I every year it's like the white whale, Minnesota for Republicans in a way, to me, because it gets away, kind of the way Texas is for Democrats. But I think that Minnesota might actually be a state where they can finally say, we've had enough. We can't take this. I mean, the fraud alone ought to irritate even the most hardcore Democratic farmer, whatever that is, party there. Anyhow, I greatly appreciate you, Senator. You come back anytime because you kind of have your pulse on the finger there, and it helps us to know everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. There you go. Minnesota, it's in play. Minnesota is in play. And the next governor will select the next senator. You could end up with 2 Republican senators from the state of Minnesota if you get a good race for governor. I mean, who would want to replace Tim Walz with another Tim Walz? It's whatever. We'll take a break here. Looks like a power surge came through. Great thing that we have backup and redundancy here. Anyhow, we'll take a break and be right back. All right. Ivy, were you there? What happened?
I'm here.
All right, just checking out. We took a couple of power surges here in the last few minutes, but Ivy, I'm going to give you credit here because you're the mastermind behind this whole studio setup. Where you're set up, where I'm set up. We have 3 different studio sets in this area, and so nothing went down except we lost connection to the radio station for a second. But that's already been corrected. Never happened again. Battery backups, generators, but why would suddenly we lose power again?
Yeah, giving our viewers and listeners a little bit of a
Inside
look
baseball.
behind the scenes, right?
Inside
it's
baseball.
It's live broadcast, and sometimes things go wrong, but I'm not exactly sure how things.
Well, it never,
probably look a little disheveled because I'm like, I gotta fix things.
It never goes wrong when you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Anthony's really good at crisis mode too. So
he is. It is a live broadcast. We've been through this a lot. Okay, so I mentioned this with Ron Rademacher. I got sidetracked with it, but I'm just so angry about this. There's a ballot petition. It's only about 10,000 signatures away from being on the Oregon ballot this year that would outlaw hunting and fishing, livestock farming, breeding, trapping, pest control, that means killing mice, and animal research in the state of Oregon. Banning hunting and fishing in the state of Oregon would if you got caught hunting or fishing, it would be a criminal offense if this goes through with the voters.
I don't see how that could pass. The first thing that comes to mind is, what about people who actually need to hunt to provide food for their families?
Yeah, that's one of the arguments against it. Wouldn't matter. Criminal offense. Animal welfare, the safety and the well-being of the animal is more important than the family. You see, you've got these people that have a mentality that a rat is a bat, is a boy, that all animals are equal. There are 50 law schools or more now in this country that teach that animals should be able to have an attorney to represent their rights in a court of law.
Well, as I remember it, our Lord has given us dominion on this land, and we can, if we were wanting to harvest animals for food, or what about farms that may be raising cows or chickens or things like that? Or does that mean you can't eat a chicken egg either? Is that, animal cruelty?
I don't know. Well, probably. Even though they believe in abortion, they wouldn't believe eating an egg is fair. You couldn't even breed dogs intentionally.
Wow. And this just seems to be way outside of the...
Yeah.
I mean, is there like some sort of constitutional issue here in terms of freedoms, or...
In Michigan, where we live, we have the constitutional right to hunt and fish. Many states have the constitutional right to hunt and fish. The state of Oregon, apparently, unless I'm gonna qualify that answer and say I don't know exactly.
Right.
Because if in Michigan somebody came along with a ballot initiative just like this and said we're gonna put on the ballot, because everything they do now is they change the Constitution.
Right.
Our Constitution, I think, written in 1963, if memory serves. It could be they could just replace the language in the Constitution and just because we basically have a second amendment in Michigan that's in the Michigan Constitution as well. They could strip that out. They could strip out the right to hunt and vote.
It just seems like a really ridiculous notion that a group of people are going to just tell the rest of the state what they can and can't do. I mean, that is pretty anti-American if you ask me.
That's what liberals do. That's why they're so dangerous. Oh, let's just try something else. Let's just try the liberals. The
and
liberals
what about
are
like
the
overpopulation and things like that with deer or rodents or...
You can't, under this law, you could not kill a mouse. You could not kill a mouse because it says vermin.
So I guess if you have pets, like a pet snake, you can't have...
Pest control, specifically written here. Would outlaw pest control, would outlaw animal research, hunting, fishing, livestock, farming, breeding, trapping, pest control, animal research, intentionally injuring or killing an animal.
I can't imagine that this would pass.
I don't know.
There has to be more common sense in that in the state of Oregon, correct?
It would devastate hunting, fishing, agriculture, conservation funding, and daily life.
I wonder how much money goes into people going into the state to hunt or fish.
Well, they've got a lot. I mean, you've got great ocean fishing. You've got great freshwater fishing.
How can you create laws for the ocean. Isn't that that can't possibly
that might be
be
federal water.
Right.
Right, I suppose.
But I think that's something interesting to look at. You know, the economies that are going to be impacted, the people that are going to lose their jobs, the people that are going to have, less likelihood to survive because they can't hunt, they can't fish, they can't provide for their family. It just seems absolutely ridiculous.
Right, and it's an inexpensive way to put protein on the table. It's an outrageous thing.
Look at California and Oregon as hey, maybe this will be coming to your state if you are not careful.
Well, it'll come to every state if you're not careful. That's the point that I'm making. They'll say, well, we just want a couple of animal cruelty laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, then
don't we have laws for that?
We
already have animal cruelty laws. I mean, you can't be harmful to your pets.
I understand that. But we only want a couple laws about hate speech. Next thing you know, they're doing what they're doing in England, pounding on your door at 3 a.m. To arrest you for a Facebook post. We only want a little bit of a red flag law because we don't want dangerous people to have guns. Well, now we think anybody with a gun is dangerous. You see, this is how the incremental destruction of personal liberty happens.
Yeah.
Incrementally. Rust never sleeps.
Chipping it away, piece by piece.
That's right.
Until there's nothing left.
Until there's nothing left.
No.
Exactly right.
And this is what we were talking about yesterday in terms of being passive. The people in that state that don't agree with this law need to be organizing and pushing back and informing people that this is just ridiculous and what the impacts it'll have in the state. And hopefully that's happening.
Yeah. Anyhow, let's hope for the folks in Oregon that they get it right. I mean, there'll be lawsuits everywhere. It'll go to the Supreme Court. But if the people vote for it, man, they're in trouble. Anyhow, love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
We'll take a break. I'll be back after this. Wait a second. What about a different angle on this? This occurred to me during the break. What if we look at this Oregon initiative that would outlaw hunting and fishing just a bit differently? And here's what I mean by that. Several states, Colorado, Michigan, others, put marijuana on the ballot in critical years when they needed their voters to turn out en masse. What if states like Minnesota or Wisconsin or, yes, Michigan, what if the conservatives were to put on a ballot a measure that would outlaw hunting and fishing in a critical election year? It would never pass in Michigan or Wisconsin or Minnesota. And I don't know about Oregon. I've got a friend of mine there who's an out guy who thinks it might well pass. I don't know. But you know how you hear every election cycle how gun owners and hunters don't vote? Well, those hunters and gun owners would vote if there was an initiative on the ballot to outlaw hunting now, wouldn't they? Let that sink in for a minute. Maybe in a critical election year, putting an anti-hunting, anti-fishing measure on the ballot by the conservatives might be the counterbalance to when the liberals put on weed for consideration and got all their people to turn out and vote for that. Ah, now I'm looking at it in a different light. I think this could be a brilliant card to play. Your thoughts can always be sent to SteveGruber.com. I'll take your email on that. SteveGruber.com, all right? All right. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, only you can save America.